Following presentation. Welcome to the Northern Nerdcast, the podcast that showcases the geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events in and around the city of Edmonton. Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Visit their website at albertapodcastnetwork.com. If you like the show, we invite you to share it on all of your social media platforms and help grow our community of geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events in and around the city of Edmonton. Would you like to be a contributor to the show? For more information, visit our website at northernnerdnetwork.com. And now, here's the host of the show, Dan Schessel.
All right, so welcome back, everyone, to this edition of the Nerdcast. My name is Dan Schessel, and on today's edition of the Nerdcast, we actually have Trina sitting beside me today.
Hello.
We usually have Chelsea here, but she can't make it tonight. She's on set doing some acting stuff, so we have Trina back on the show. We also have tonight joining us is Sarah Johnson. Say hello.
Hello.
So we are going to talk a little bit later about Sarah Johnson and what she does and all that kind of stuff. But really, first off, we like to find out, we like to get down to the soul of every person that we have on our show by asking them what they have on their geek shelf. So Sarah, what do you have on your geek shelf?
So what I have on my geek shelf is, and I don't know if this is going to, a can, it's very special. I've been saving it for a special occasion of unicorn meat. And where this comes from is I have this habit, I work in a bookstore, and I have this habit of just every now and again putting odd things on the office supply list of things that we need. And one of them was unicorn hooves or something. And so I got this as a present from my employers. And if you open it, it actually is full of like little unicorn choice cuts. And to form a whole unicorn, so, here's the unicorn bits. And I keep that on my desk just to remind myself of the kind of power I have over people, that they will go to great lengths to get me what I want. And I dropped a unicorn part on the floor.
Nice.
That is definitely something unique. I think I've seen something like that before, but I don't think I've actually seen something like someone actually have it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I thought it was just a joke can. I didn't expect there to be an actual unicorn inside.
Yeah. That just makes it even better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So that's pretty fantastic. Trina, how was your week?
It was okay. Kind of a little bit lonely over here. Solo parenting.
Yeah.
I didn't really get to do a whole lot because you were out of town and I had children. So I did actually get to go see Avengers Infinity War finally today. So
No spoilers.
no spoilers. Caught up. I must say, though, the one thing I really didn't like, and it's a personal choice, was the way Captain America looked. I did not enjoy his beard. I just didn't.
Really?
I'm sorry.
I love his beard. I think his beard is.
I like Thor. I like Thor with the shorter hair now. At first, that was a little weird, but it's growing on me. His beard and his shorter hair. I think Thor's, he's my favorite right now.
You also made it to Calgary as well.
We did make it to Calgary last weekend. Yeah, for some fun times.
How was it? You can. It's a podcast. We can elaborate on things.
Let you take that one.
No.
Yeah, we went to the Calgary Expo. It was expo-y. Yeah, I don't know.
Nothing to say at all. You didn't go see anything fun. You didn't do
really
anything exciting there. Like you didn't go see
my least favorite con, honestly. Over the years, I think this one was just kind of
meh. Well, you did get to go see the one panel there.
I went to two panels. So see Will Wheaton. He's always awesome to listen to, and the gentleman from Princess Bride. I can't remember. Carrie Elwes. I think that was his name. guy that played the hot dude. I remember his name now. Wesley. Yes, thank you. Yes, he had some really good stories. That was good.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I actually made it down to the Calgary Expo. I know I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to be working, and I figured, I was kind of like, yeah, I'm going. No, I'm not going. Yes, I'm going. No, I'm not. And it was down to the wire, actually. My boss called me, what was it, a couple hours before I was going to leave back to go to Lloyd. And he said, we might not need you guys for a couple more days. So managed to make it down to Calgary instead of that. So that was fantastic. Sarah, did you make it down to the expo at all?
I did not this year. My publisher was there, and they had a great time. I was there the year before. But yeah, I'm doing a writing residency right now. So I was doing that, and I wasn't able to get down.
Yeah. So the Fan Expo has now bought out the Calgary Expo. So that's the expo from Toronto, I believe is.
Oh, okay.
So now they own the Calgary Expo. So there was a few and Edmonton. That's right. So there was a few changes that they had made to the expo itself. I don't want to get into too much stuff, but hello. Yeah, there's just so much that has gone on over the last little while. So I'm curious to see how well it does. I think some of the changes that they had made were good changes. But there's a few changes that could be improved on, I think, including
or shouldn't have been made in the first place and just left alone.
Yeah, like there was some accessibility issues where if you had a wheelchair or something, they kind of made you up as a VIP, and they would just have a spot up the front for you, and then they kind of took that all away, which was kind of a bummer. And that was just kind of like just before the expo happened, and they didn't really tell anyone, so that kind of sucked. There was a few other things, like some of the volunteers didn't get water, or any kind of.
The panelists didn't get water.
Yeah, and the panelists didn't get water. It was
just because the place was going to charge them a ton for bottled water, and like not let them bring their own in or something. But...
Oh, really? So those were actual decisions they made and not just poor organization?
No, they were actual decisions they made. They were like, no, they want to charge us $6 a bottle for water. So,
oh man,
paying for it. So,
I don't even know if it was that much.
But it was enough.
Yeah, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we did like Infinity Ward, Toadman. It was fantastic. Trina said she didn't like Chris in his beard.
Well, as long as one of the Chris's is making you happy.
Yeah. I mean, you have so many to choose from there.
Yeah.
We also had free comic book day. You made it down to the. Look at this.
Okay, fine. I did something. I took the kids to the Spruce Grove Public Library for free comic book day. And it was good. They enjoyed it. They had some Lego and some comics, and yeah, they had fun. So,
yeah, I made it to one of the comic book stores for free comic book day. Got a few comics. Picked up a couple little things. It was good. Free comic book day.
You can't go wrong.
It's such a celebration of like, yeah. It's always fun. There's always good sales on during that time. If you're really trying to look at getting your collection up a little bit more, that's a good time to go and do that. So I always like free comic book day.
Do you think it brings people in who like aren't typically going into the comic book store, and maybe gets them interested in it?
I hope so. Yeah. I think so. I think like at the library, I think they had people there that wouldn't have normally gone into a comic book store. So I think
and even at like Happy Harbor, they always like pack the place out. Like there's huge lines, and you're like, there's no way all these people are buying comics throughout the year.
Right.
So it's always a good chance if you're not into comics, you get the chance to actually try a few different comics out that you may not actually normally get to try. That's kind of like for myself. I don't usually pick up all the ones that I know I'm gonna like anyways. I try to go for things that I may be curious in, like, oh, look at this one, it looks interesting, right? So it's always a good chance. Like, they're free, right? You can't go wrong if it's a bad comic. I didn't pay anything for it, you know. So it's always good to try something new, and then you may find something really good. So we have Robert. Is it Boss? And he says he's your publisher.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said he had the booth at the expo. He said it was definitely a bit different than previous years. We've talked to a lot of people who own various booths. I know the price was increased this year. They did say that they made more money this year than they ever had before. A lot of these various booths, but I don't know if it was enough to cover a lot of the extra costs. I can't tell you that or not, but I'll be kind of curious to see how it goes from here on in with the Calgary Expo. Yeah, for sure. Moving along, I also made it to IntrigueCon, which is our local like RPG convention, where it was a mini RPG convention. So like tabletop role playing games. So they had various types of role playing games that you can try there. I think there was about 6 or 7 games. About 7 or 8 games going on at any time during the day, and they were all they were packed. The whole place, I think they oversold it, which was really good to hear. So they have a lot of people who are very interested in playing. It was beautiful out yesterday for the convention, so we're all huddled inside playing RPGs, and yeah. It was so nice out there. So I managed to play Starfinder, which is, I don't know if anyone's heard of Pathfinder. It's this Pathfinder set in space, essentially. And it was really good. I really did enjoy that, trying that one out. I've been dying to actually get a chance to try that one out, and so I actually got a moment to try it, and it was great. Really enjoyed it. The other one I got to do was the Star Wars RPG, the one I usually run. So we did the Edge of the Empire, and I actually ran this one. It was at night. It was like the last one. It was great because the people who were there were super excited. They were like, "We've been waiting the whole convention for this." And I'm like, "Oh, this is great." So we had some people there. They were super excited to be there playing the game.
Are they all new to the game?
Some were new to the system. Like, some were new to the game. One was has been playing the other version of not the Star Wars one, but the one that you can make whatever you want. I can't remember. I keep forgetting the name for it. But she's been doing that when she's done actually a Mass Effect game set in that setting. So that's pretty cool. So it was great to actually get a chance to have a bunch of people try out some new stuff with the campaign and see how it went, and it went really good. I really did enjoy it. They are going to do the big IntrigueCon in October, and that one's going to be a lot bigger, and it should be a lot more fun. I think I'm excited. I'm probably going to run another game and let you know.
Thanks for letting
I'm giving you plenty of
notice
on this one. October, I will be gone for a bit. All right. So, like I said, we are going to talk a little bit with Sarah here about. Actually, I should ask you, Sarah, how was your week?
It was really good. Busy. Did lots of things. Had lots of literary events, and I'm also teaching a class, so it kind of blurred by, but lots of good things happening.
Cool.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to do a quick little break here, and we will come right back, and we'll talk a little bit more about Sarah and her book, and yeah, and we'll get to that. Hey, Trina, did you know that ATB is a proud sponsor of many of the events that we like to attend?
I did, Dan. And not only that, they are involved with so many new and up-and-coming projects, just like the Alberta Podcast Network.
That's right. And it's incredible to see the involvement they have right here in our own backyard.
Yep. That's just one of the many ways ATB sets itself apart from the other big financial institutions. You can see your money in action, supporting amazing projects happening right here in Alberta.
Exactly. And it's all part of this amazing initiative, ATB Listens.
That's right. And if you guys want more info about how ATB listens and all the great projects they support in Alberta, you can go to atb.com/listens to find out more.
Okay, so like I said earlier, we have Sarah Johnson joining us today on our show, and she is an author from Calgary. And so we're going to talk a little bit about her book and some of the stuff that she's doing. And so, Sarah, we're going to start off just kind of easily by asking you what your book is kind of about.
Well, what is your book first? I don't think.
Okay, so my book, it's called Infractus, and it's published by Coffin Hot Press. It came out a few weeks ago, and it is a Born Identity meets the Book of Revelation apocalyptic thriller where a nameless assassin is recruited by the Archangel Michael to destroy an oppressive global regime.
That sounds...
And it's big. You don't want to drop it on your foot. So in a nutshell, that's what it's about. So, science fiction, biblical.
So do you have like a biblical background yourself then?
Yeah, I grew up in a pretty religious household. We were Mormon. My family still is. So even when I was a teenager and I kind of thought, you know what, this not for me. But I still had all this stuff in my head. I'd been studying it for my whole life. And I just kind of started thinking about, when I started writing, about, well, what if some of this stuff was real? What would it look like? What would these people be like if they were real people and not just morality tales?
Nice.
That's amazing. So let me just kind of go back a little bit with you. So you're sorry, I have moments like this. But let's go back to when you started writing for yourself. Why did you ever get yourself into writing in the first place?
Well, it really started, I didn't start writing seriously until I was about 30 or 31, but I'd been reading my whole life just voraciously. I was a slow reader as a kid. I didn't really read well and for comprehension until I was about in grade 3. So age 8-ish. But once it clicked, I couldn't get enough. And by the time I was 10, 11 years old, I was reading adult fiction and, most of it whoosh going over my head. And, but you just like not being able to stop. And my parents would joke that, if I had my nose in a book, the house could fall down around me and I wouldn't even look up. Mm-hmm. And that's very true to this day. If I'm into a book, you can't get my attention. And so when I did decide to start writing, I read a book called Bitten by Kelly Armstrong. That's just like one of my favorite urban fantasy writers and one of my favorite urban fantasy books. And it inspired me to write this like very, very terrible formulaic werewolf novel that is buried in a drawer somewhere to be burned upon my death. And and then I wrote some more, and I had this idea for another story that was like really kind of high concept and really complicated. So I decided to take this year-long novel course, my first formal writing class ever. And it was with a whole bunch of people who'd been writing for a long time. Most of them were published. And here I was just like getting my feet wet. I was so in over my head, but these writers really banded around me and supported me and taught me so much. And in that year, I wrote the rough draft for this novel.
So let me ask you then, like, if you've like seemed like you've started a little bit later than most, what would you have for advice for other people who are kind of in the same situation? They're like, I don't know where to kind of start. Like, how do you get about doing that kind of stuff?
Well, first of all, know that it's never too late to start writing. Like that's, we can't say that about a lot of things. It's never too late to start writing and get really good at it. So my advice would be to seek out community, connect with other writers, take classes, get professional critique, attend workshops, really take the time to learn what you're doing. Because if you have an idea for a book and you really want to do this, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to that book to do it right. I know a lot of people, it's so easy to self-publish now that they just kind of write this book and they love it. And, they might even give it a second, rewrite, and then they put it out there. But is it really what you want it to be at that point?
So you were saying that you are teaching some classes and that you have a residency somewhere. Can you tell us more about that?
So the Alexander Writers Center Society is a writing organization here in Calgary that essentially connects writers, offers instruction, support, and just a place for people to be with the other people that are doing the same thing they are. Because as writers, people who don't do that don't really, even if they support us, they don't really understand what we're doing. And so I feel like for your own mental health and your own happiness, you need to have those community connections with other writers. And every year they have a program called Writer in Residence, where a writer will be available to meet with members one-on-one for hour-long consultations on their writing. I teach workshops, I hold a couple social events, and it's been great. It's been an intense few months, but it's been amazing. And I'm also teaching a class on top of that called the 3-Month Novel Project, which is kind of modeled after NaNoWriMo, except I call it 3Mo No Pro, which is a much dorkier title. But the idea being that if you want to finish a rough draft, 3 months is intense, but still doable for a mortal who has a life and commitments and a job. So together over the course of 3 months, we work together to finish a rough draft of a novel. And this is the second time I've run the class, and it's a blast. It's so much fun.
Wow. So how long did it take you to write your novel from start to finish to where you were actually happy with all the rewrites?
About 6 years, I guess. And I don't even care to speculate on how many times I rewrote it. At least 10.
And you could probably still go back and...
Oh yeah,
a few more things apart
without being like, well, I wouldn't have done that. Yeah. So it took about 6 years to get it to the point where I was happy enough with it to start shopping it around and querying, and then it was a couple more rewrites with an editor, and then So a long time. I'm hoping to get faster.
Well, 3 months for your rough draft. That seems to me insane, because I don't think I could ever write anything, period. But 3 months for anything just seems crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, Stephen King says that a rough draft should take the same amount of time as a season. That's his advice, that you can be focused on the story and get it down.
So do you have plans for your next novel, or like what are you doing now?
Well, apparently I'm going to be locked up until I finish the sequel to Infractus. I'll be hopefully, I don't know, I might have a window I'm allowed to open once in a while. So that's the priority. The residency ends at the end of May. So in June, I'll be working on the follow-up to Infractus, and then hopefully some short stories here and there.
Nice. Have you written a lot of short stories yet?
Yeah, I have a collection of short stories called Suicide Stitch, and I think I have one here somewhere. Yeah, I do. Here it is. Yeah, so it's 11 short stories, and they're on I call them love stories, but it's the dark, sinister, terrible side of love, because that's what I do.
Nice. What has drawn you kind of into the more dark, sinister side and the sci-fi kind of genre overall?
Probably because it's what I enjoy reading the most. And I've tried to write lighthearted, happy stories, but they always just take a hard left at some point. And it's like, oh, here we are again in the haunted cornfield. Yeah. I have fun doing it. I'm not a dark, like depressed person, but for someone I place, I have fun doing it. So
yeah, I definitely didn't pick up any like dark or gloomy kind of personality from yourself.
You can be a bit gloomy from time to time, but for the most part, yeah, I'm not, people expect me to be this really twisted kind of person. It's like, it's all on the page. If I didn't write, I'd probably be some kind of psychopath, but
it's an outlet then.
Yeah.
So, what was the thing that really did you find that really pushed you into writing in the first place?
I think I never thought of myself as a creative person, but I was at a point in my life where I had very little children and not a lot of space in my life for something that was just mine. And so when I read Bitten, and I loved it so much, and I just kind of had this idea for a story, and I didn't tell anyone I was starting to write. I just and I wrote it all by hand too. Like, that's how crazy it was. So I have like 3 massive notebooks. And so that was just this little pocket of my life that wasn't for anyone else but me. And I don't think it's really an exaggeration to say it saved me from going into that dark place in my real life.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of goes to show you how powerful that kind of stuff can really be. Just a little bit of writing or doing something like that seems to me like it's really you've been able to work through things, and it's like, I know when I read, and I don't read a whole heck of a lot, but you can really lose yourself inside a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
I don't know. I feel like you were going somewhere.
No, that was.
Well, that's the appeal of reading, right? Like, you read to escape. You can read to learn. You can read to live the experience of someone so completely unlike who you are. And that's the magic of books. And that's why I don't think, people say things like, oh, the novel is dead. Yeah, I find that utterly ridiculous. There's always going to be that need to escape into a story. And as human beings, like, we're in the storytelling instinct is so strong in us. We're compelled to tell stories in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Do you find that you wrote any of yourself into any of your characters? Maybe any of your personal experiences or your personality comes through in a specific character at all?
I think you can't help but do that sometimes. My main character in Infractus, very much embodies some of my less desirable personality traits. And so maybe I was trying to work through something with that, but I don't think I've ever sort of based a character on myself. I think a little part of yourself goes into every character. And it's fun to start them off with that set of characteristics and then watch as you write them, and they just become their own people, completely different from anyone in real life.
So let me ask you a little bit about some of the characters that you have in your book. Just kind of on the process of actually building up a character. Like, what kind of process do you take for each one of the characters that are in your book? Is there a certain thing that you look for? I know we've talked to some other authors, and they kind of like do specific like sort of routines for every character that they have. Do you do anything kind of like that for your characters, or do you just kind of let them grow on their own?
In the first draft, I really don't do any sketching out ahead of time. I know some people will do like Myers-Briggs personality tests on their characters, or some kind of list of traits and quirks and flaws and positive attributes and things like that. But I feel like I've tried doing that before and it doesn't work for me. I need to write them so that they just kind of emerge in whatever part of my brain is creating them. When I go to rewrite, though, I definitely pay more attention to how can I make this person more multifaceted? How can I make this person more complex? And a lot of that comes through the relationships a character has with other characters. I learn a lot about them that way, just putting them in a room and making them talk to someone else or react to someone else.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I got it.
You're out of.
I'm out of. Yeah.
She was so thorough that you're out of questions.
Yeah, no, I'm just sort of curious. Like, have you been able to pick up any new books lately, or have you been able to read anything that's interesting nowadays?
Yes. Well, I work in a bookstore, so it's kind of part of my job to be picking out what I like and trying to foist it upon other people. So I would probably say the best book I've read in the last year is a book called The Power by Naomi Alderman. And it's a speculative fiction novel where a genetic mutation is suddenly awakened in every woman and girl that gives them the kind of physical primacy over men that men have always had over women. And it completely changes the world. And I don't use the word thrilling to describe many books, but this book absolutely thrilled me. It was so exciting. It was terrifying. And the writing was so beautiful. And like, it's one of those books you put it down and you just can't stop thinking about it. And to me, that's what puts a book a cut above the rest, is when you're done and you just keep thinking about it and you can't get it out of your head.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I've pretty much got everything I think I need. But you've been absolutely fantastic to talk with. Where can people just sort of find you, or
For your book?
For your book, or even find you on the web?
Yeah, if you head over to my website, sarahljohnson.com, it has links to all my social media and where you can find all my work online. So yeah, please do drop me a note. I love connecting with other writers and readers and talking. I'm just one of those like old school people that uses social media to be social. So yeah, I definitely am into talking to people if they have a question or if they just want to know more. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
We're going to take a quick little break. We're going to come right back. We're going to talk a little bit about the events that are happening in the city of Edmonton, and then we'll do a little bit of closeout. So please stay tuned. So like I said earlier, the Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. And if you go on right now to albertapodcastnetwork.com, you'll find a list of the amazing Alberta-made podcasts. We have so many podcasts there, and that list just keeps on growing. One podcast I'd like to, shine a little bit of light on is I Have Some Notes. Where they take a movie, not usually a good movie, but they usually take a movie that, like they did Congo, and they took all the notes from that movie and try to make it a little bit better. And so if you want to go and check that out, it is a pretty good show. I really do enjoy listening to those guys. They're absolutely fantastic. So go and check them out. I Have Some Notes is a part of the Alberta Podcast Network. And that's it. So go on over albertapodcastnetwork.com for a list of amazing Alberta-made podcasts. Okay, so like I said, we have a bunch of events that are happening in and around the city that I'd like to share with people. And they are here. We have DPX coming up right away from May 18th to May 21st. And this is happening at the Gateway Boulevard Northwest. I don't even know. So we might not all identify under one name, but in form or another, we are all gamers. From acquiring our first hotel in Monopoly during a family vacation, harvesting crops in Farmville before a big meeting, or vanquishing Vex and part of a fire team in Destiny, we all game. But what does that actually mean? Join us on a 4-day celebration as they experience games from all genres and forms, and join discussions and explore what is a game, and learn what's going into making games from concept to a finished product. And there's a whole bunch of people going to this event. So, and it actually seems pretty interesting, actually. DPX, Play, Learn, Create. So go check that out. Moving along, we also have all these events up on our website as well, northernnerdnetwork.com. Go on over to there and you'll find that all the list of amazing games. No, events. My goodness, this heat in this room is getting to me right now. I'm just sweating so badly.
Me too.
But we complain all winter about the cold.
I know. This room is always just burning hot when I do the podcast, because this computer, I don't know, it's like 600 degrees, and it's just like it's a mini heater. Anyways, we have YAG D&D happening on May 19th. It's called The Secret of the Song Temple. So if you have never heard of YAG D&D, they are essentially, they're just a big improv group here in Edmonton. They have a big, a lot of their improv comes from a big foam dice that they have, or blow up dice. And they kind of roll that for the game. It's pretty great. So this one's happening at the Grindstone Theater, and this is on May 19th. So go and check that out. Moving along to June 10th. Sorry, we have the CollectorCon. Edmonton's CollectorCon is happening on June 10th. This is the chance for you to get all those collector items, like the G.I. Joe that you've been missing out of your collection. I'm sure there's a few.
Gotta get that Joe.
Yeah. So that is happening at
Italian Cultural Center.
Italian Cultural Center. Thank you. Moving along, we have Pure Spec happening, and this is the Writers' Convention here in Edmonton, and Pure Speculation Festival happening on June 15th and 16th at the Alberta Avenue Community Hall. The admission is free, apparently.
Have you heard of this festival, Sarah?
Pure Spec?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
I
I haven't been, but people keep saying, like, you got to go to the cons, you got to do all these things. I'm like, what? Okay, does that involve leaving my house?
I'm a writer. Do what I do at home.
Put on pants? Oh my god.
This is one of my favorite ones, I think, out of the year. Because we always go to a lot of the conventions here in the city, and Pure Spec is one of the ones that are just nice, and it's nice. It's a little bit smaller. It's got a really great community feel to it. And so, yeah, that one's one I always enjoy popping into and checking things out. And then we're going to move along. We have July 7th, and I know this is quite a ways off, but we have a cosplay garage sale. So I don't know. This seems really interesting to me. I think if you have some stuff, you can bring it. And they're going to have the cosplay supplies and all this other crafts things. So if you're into cosplay and dressing up and all that kind of fun stuff, July 7th, this is happening. There is an address. I will have that on the website as well. That is it. That is all. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming and joining us today on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Once again, where can people find you? Where can they find your book?
They can find my book anywhere online. Books are sold, Amazon. You can find me at sarahljohnson.com with links to Infractus and all my other work. Yeah, probably the best way to find everything is just on my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us as well on this edition of the Northern Nerdcast. And I want to thank you, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Northern Nerdcast. Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Check out their website at albertapodcastnetwork.com. For all things geeky and nerdy, including all of our social media platforms, go to northernnerdnetwork.com. Thanks again, and we appreciate your support.